afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. Ali Corm and Ed Carson here with a breakdown of the action in today's session where we saw a lot of strength, Ed. So what are we going to be taking a look at today?
Well, we're going to take a Come on, there we go. We're going to take a look at Ford, Albemarle, and SentinelOne, a couple of breakouts and one that's setting up.
Okay, we'll do that. But first, a look at the major indexes. And so kicking things off with our analysis of the Nasdaq composite. So for the last couple of days, we noted the stalling-like action. One day was an official stalling day. Yesterday was just a little bit of resistance there, getting up to the highs, but powering through that level today. So the Nasdaq closing the day with a gain of 1.4%. But the Russell 2000 small caps also had a very nice day, up 1.9%. The Dow up about 0.7%. The S&P 500 up 1%. So looks like pretty broad-based strength here to me, Ed.
Yeah, and this is, if you bought back in mid-October, back when, when things were really getting moving, you probably weren't paying too much attention. Well, you might have been paying attention, but you didn't have to do much the last few days because it wasn't really sort of gyrating back and forth. Some stocks rose, some stocks fell. I mean, there was some of it was being beefed up by Tesla, by Google, and Microsoft. So the underlying market might have looked a little weaker, but this is why you try to get in early. But yeah, I mean, after a couple of days where we hit a little resistance, we moved higher. So that's a pretty positive sign. There were some nice moves today, not as tremendous, but it's like whatever you held probably was doing pretty well. Probably a lot of green in people's portfolios today.
Yeah, there have been quite a few buying opportunities before, during, and after that October 14th follow-through day. But a lot of times we talk about how the strongest stocks in the market only give you that narrow window of opportunity to buy right. But we are continuing to see opportunities from a number of names. So we'll have to take a look at some of those here in a few. Let's also just take a quick look at the S&P 500. So trying to get back to that 4,600 level. Maybe it did by the end of the day. Nope, just shy of it by 4 points by the end of the day. So trying to get to that next round number. Is the action sort of like a magnet to that round number, do you think?
Maybe so. We'll have to see. But it shows that there's a pretty broad-based rally going on. The S&P has been doing pretty darn well the last few weeks and really done pretty well in the last several months.
And the Dow as well, also close to new highs, but both the S&P and the Dow had hit new highs before the Nasdaq did. So the Nasdaq doing that today. And then small caps, we noted the outperformance today, so up almost 2%. But when you look at it, you can just see how small caps have really been weak compared to the other indexes. And it's still just taking a while, Ed, for small caps to break out of this same range.
Yeah, it's definitely been a stock picker's market. There have been a wide range of stocks to buy from a wide array of sectors. I mean, different sectors come and go, definitely in 2021, but it's definitely been where a lot of stocks are struggling. It has been a strange market all year in that regard.
Okay, well, let's take a look at Ford, which is out with its earnings. So reacting to that today with a gain of about 9% and some nice heavy volume behind the move. And in the lead up to the report, we did see Ford test new high ground, then pull back. What do you think about the action today, how it turned out?
Yeah, this is tricky. This is one of the reasons why gap ups are so difficult. And it's been difficult lately. Definitely a lot of gap ups have pulled back, less so today because the market was so strong, but nice action. Maybe this will follow up. It may be the kind of thing, if you bought on the gap up, well, you can probably hold it. You can hold it. You might be down a little bit, but you can hold it. But I think maybe if you look intraday, I don't know if you need to wait all the way to a new high, but maybe getting above sort of the meat of this day, like after that, like somewhere over there, that might be a place where you could add in the next couple of days, or you just wait a few days, see if it sort of forms a little shelf. Different ways of playing it. They had a lot of optimism that things would get better. I mean, if you look at the numbers down there, profit and sales were down. I mean, it's like this wasn't a good quarter in that regard, and it was even mixed results. But they were definitely bullish about the future in terms of just overall production. They obviously have a lot of things going on with EVs down the road. So that would be probably how I would look at it.
Okay, and yeah, we'll have to see if it can hold the low of this gap up day or around that level, and also see how it acts in tomorrow's session. As you said, I liked what you said about getting over the meat of this range here, but it's also why you don't want to just see a gap up of X% and go all in right at the opening bell. This is how we can use intraday charts to our advantage to make sure that we're not, buying at the highs of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand if you waited 5 minutes and bought like maybe the prior tick and you got a little bit, so it might have been down from there. If you waited for the first hour, maybe you never bought, which is another way, and you're now going to wait for another entry. So different ways of playing it to try to avoid the big sell-offs or buying at the high.
But the true range of the day is still a very, very strong
Yes.
gain for Ford, the gain of 9% once again. And this is a theme that is worth watching, with Tesla going gangbusters, Lucid Motors, all the Chinese EV stocks look like they are back in focus. So focusing on auto stocks is something definitely worth doing. Okay, and now next, let's take a look at Albemarle, so ticker ALB, a nice breakout here out of a cup with handle base. And we also were able to draw a little bit of a trend line, a slightly earlier entry together this morning on IBD Live, and it did trigger that alert. So maybe you could sneak in a little bit earlier than the traditional entry here, Ed.
Yeah, and either way could work on that kind of situation. And this is another way of playing. I thought you were segueing right into that, because this is another way to play the EVs. I stayed quiet because it's like, because this is a way, this does lithium mining, it does other stuff, but that's really what, is driving the stock. Biggest lithium miner out there. There's just not enough lithium for all the EVs being made and going to be made. It takes a long time to get these mines online, and the battery plants are just coming up like crazy. So, whoever wins the EV race, ALB is likely to be doing pretty well. And there's other stocks in this group, or in this field that are doing well, but Albemarle is definitely one that is doing well. They're, unfortunately, the one downside is there's earnings, I would say.
Yes. Well, maybe enough time to get a little bit of a profit cushion heading into the report with the thematic momentum that we're seeing. And Ed, you're the subject matter expert here, so I was trying to tee you up for the transition. But interesting action today with ALB. Volume did end up above average. So 2 days here in recent history with that above average volume to the upside. We did have an even earlier entry for this one though, Ed, when it got back above the 50-day line.
Yeah, you certainly could have done it there, and that's worked out pretty well as it cleared the 50-day line. So
on the follow through day.
On the follow-through day. So that was a good time to do it, because that was one thing. Some of these leaders, they broke out early, and it's just like, and it was difficult. You had to sort of like, am I going to cheat? Am I going to sneak in? But this one was almost like, hey, I'm going to make it easy for you. I mean, the volume wasn't great, but it was a trend line break, 50-day line on the follow-through day.
Yeah, volume though. Okay, one to keep an eye on also worth watching is SentinelOne, ticker as reversing slightly higher today. But this is a recent IPO in the security software group, and we know how well a lot of those security software names have been doing. So it seems like SentinelOne here, another name to watch.
Yeah, and I actually used to own this. I had it on the way up, and a good part of the way down too. A lot of it, So I'm not in it now, but it's, it sort of found support sort of near the top of the old base. It was a big drop. It ran up a lot, came back down. This is an IPO. Let's be perfectly, it's still an IPO. It is not a normal stock yet. I don't want to make everybody feel like this is going to be a tame stock like Google. But, it seems to be consolidating, maybe tightening up. I like that on a weekly chart, setting up there, finding support of the 50-day line. So it's not actionable now, but I think if we can get above that resistance area right there, that could be a buying opportunity. This is a CrowdStrike rival. The security names are doing pretty well. It has accelerating revenue growth. There's a lot of things to like about it.
So in terms of it clearing the resistance, so you think, in your view, it would be actionable if it got over the highs of these last couple of weeks, and you don't have to wait for it to break out of this
Yeah, it's sort of
necessarily.
acting like a handle. I mean, it'd be great if it actually could form a handle, but I mean, with IPOs, and sometimes it's like, it isn't the prettiest thing, because yesterday it got above the, it was sort of working on a handle, but then sort of broke it. So it's a not handle kind of thing, but it's sort of something that might work there. Trying to get an early entry is important, because you see a lot of IPOs, they'll break out and then they'll come back, quickly come back, and either, yeah, like, well, it did that previously. And so sometimes you'll get escape velocity, and sometimes it'll come right back down. So if you can get them earlier, you have at least a chance to get out with a small gain, or maybe may ride through some turbulence and get a bigger advance.
And given the added volatility that can come with these IPOs, what do you think about position sizing and managing stops?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Like, because yeah, if you can size a position smaller and just assume that you're going to maybe take a slightly larger loss, or risk it possibly. You don't set out to do that, but sometimes these things move so quickly, you have to. So we do have things actually on FAQ page where we talk about position sizing, investors.com/IBD Live FAQ, but I believe that's open to everybody, the FAQ page. And where there's some links to position sizing, just look for that, and position size calculator, and give you an ideas on how you can maybe position off of smaller position sizing, on these, riskier bets.
Yeah, going a little smaller, maybe give it a little bit more room. All right, Ed, thank you so much. And everyone, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning for IBD Live, where the conversation will continue with more actionable trade ideas, analysis of stocks that are potential buys in real time, also reviewing sell signals, portfolio management strategies, our take on overall market conditions, and so much more. Thanks again to Ed, and we'll see everyone back here tomorrow.